Hello again, everybody. This is Rocket Rick J18, and today I am going to present to you the 25 cards that I consider to be my favorites. Now, I'm going to tell you up front, they're not the most expensive cards, they're not the newest cards, they're not the oldest cards. It's just a potpourri, and if I had to do this again in a month without notes, I probably couldn't repeat the same 25 cards. So, with that in mind, at this moment, these are my top 25 cards. So I'm going to turn, I would try not to make this thing too long, so I'm going to turn the camera down, make an adjustment here, and then we're going to look at some cards. Okay, so that's that. Get that out of the way, and get that out of the way, and we'll be ready to look at the cards. So, um, let's put the first. This is the first card, and I will tell you just a little bit about why it's my favorite. If you've watched my early videos, I featured this card and told you that a card just like it, not this exact card, but just like it, was the very first card that I ever owned. And I got it in 1959. In the spring, I had started the first grade in 1958, and I found this card against the backstop of a ball field that lay between the apartment building that my mom and I lived in and the hospital where she worked. And right next to the apartment building that I lived in was the school that I went to. So it was everything about that hinged on my mom being able to have access to me 24 hours a day, which was okay when I was 6, but I wasn't that fond of it later on. Kurt Flood. And I remember that. I will never forget this card. It was the very first one. It was in a pack that had been opened by someone, and this card was on top. So I consider it to be my first card. So that's number one. Number two is a 1962 Topps card of Rocky Colavito. Now, why is Rocky Colavito a favorite card? Because in 1962, I purchased this card along with the Roger Maris 1962 card for obvious reasons as far as Maris is concerned. 1962 is the year that the cards reflected his 61 home run season from 1961. But Rocky Colavito was just, I liked his name. I liked the way he looked. I liked the way he hit. Um, I think there's a chance that he ought to be in the Hall of Fame. If he's not, it's because his career just wasn't long enough and didn't sustain itself long enough. But I think he's worthy, just based on his stats. So, again, I purchased these two cards, and I purchased them with the 30 cents my mother had given me for lunch money. And I made a deal, and I didn't get lunch that day, but I did get two really awesome baseball cards. And this is one of them, Rocky Colavito. The next card that I want to show you, card number 3, is the 1962 Topps AL home run leaders. Pretty much set the stage for this already. 1961, the number one American League home run leader was Roger Maris. He hit 61 home runs the year before. And Mickey Mantle was second, and he hit 54 home runs. And he probably would have, been able to closely uh, imitate Rogers' performance had he stayed healthy for the rest of the season. When he got to 54, he couldn't play anymore for a few weeks uh, up till the World Series, and he did get in the World Series, but wasn't didn't have a great season, great World Series. And I don't believe he hit any home runs, but Bobby Richardson more than made up for it. So this is, was a card that was very near and dear to my heart when I was 9 years old, and I had one. Uh, this is not the one I had, obviously, but because I don't have any of my childhood cards. The oldest card that I have in my collection is a 1972 Topps Willie Stargell that my wife gave to me. It's not the oldest card, it's the card I've had the longest. So that's card number 3. Card number 4 is another guy that was really high up on my list of guys that I like to watch. We lived in the Philadelphia area, both before I moved to Delaware and after. Philadelphia is only about 35 miles from Wilmington, maybe not even that far. And so we got the Philadelphia TV stations, including their very fine UHF station, which I believe was 17, is the team or the station that broadcasts some Phillies games. Not all of them, but some of them. Most of the games weren't broadcast, not like it is today. So I watched a lot of Phillies games, and Johnny Callison was my favorite Philly. So I have this lovely card. The next card is a similar reason, different type of card. This is a card of a player that I really liked. I liked the Phillies outfield of Johnny Callison in right, this guy, Tony Gonzalez, in center, and Wes Covington in left field, the Kingfisher. And I liked the 64 Topps cards, liked the way they looked. I liked that you could fold them in half and stand them up, which I did to most of the ones that I had. But this is not, again, not one of the cards that I had, but it was sure a card that I really liked. I'll try not to keep bumping into the next card goes to that same year, 1964, and this is the rookie card of the first rookie player. I guess maybe Tom Trish might have been the first that I really knew as a rookie, but 1964, I knew this guy as a Phillies star of the future. He played a lot of third base until they discovered that he really wasn't a third baseman and moved him to first base or right field sometimes, or first base mostly. And I remember him writing the word "boo" in the out there near the first base bag when he was very dissatisfied with how the Phillies fans were treating him. He also didn't like to be called Richie Allen. He never liked to be called Richie Allen. He was known as Dick Allen everywhere until he got to the Phillies, and a sports writer named Bill Conlon tagged him with that name. And so rather than ask him, what his name was and how they just put Richie Allen on his cards for quite a while, actually. This card, however, is not the card that I had or not like the card that I had, because this card was made in Venezuela, as you can see. And so the back is completely different. And so that's the Dick Allen card. Should have been Dick Allen. The next card is from 1963 Fleer set, and it's Sandy Koufax. And Koufax was a devastating pitcher who in 1963 found his groove. Actually, probably 1962, but really 1963 he won 25 games. Then he won 19 games the next year. And then in 1965, he won 26 games. And in 1966, his last year in the major leagues, he won 27 games. The Dodgers won 2 out of 3 World Series. They won in 1963 and 1965. And then they lost in 1966 when they got swept by the Orioles. The Dodgers had hardly any hitting to speak of. I mean, they did it all with speed, defense, and fabulous pitching. So the Dodger Big Three was Sandy Koufax, Don Drysdale, and Claude Osteen. There we go. I think I've got somehow or another my computer's going to sleep, but it's still running. The next card that I want to show you is an older card, but I haven't had it as long, and it is the 1932 Sanella Margarine Type 2 Babe Ruth card. And I have this card to show you because I knew about Babe Ruth right from the very get-go. I didn't have any of his cards. I think maybe I might have had 1 or 2 from the 62 set, the Babe Ruth story. Certainly none of his playing days cards, they probably were a lot cheaper. Probably, wished I had bought them and kept them, but I didn't. So I didn't know you could do that even. So this card is a more recent card in my collection, but I don't think you could show your top 25 cards and have a Babe Ruth card and not show it as well. So another 1964 card that I want to show you is the 1964 Cincinnati Reds card of Pete Rose in an SGC 6.5. This is a gorgeous card. It might be a little bit of a diamond cut, but I don't care. And back looks kind of like this, which is different from the black color of the 64 Venezuelan cards. The next card that I have to show you is card number what? 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. Card number 10 is the 1953 Willie Mays card. And this card is a favorite, A, because I like Willie Mays, and B, because it's from the year I was born, and C, it is a beautiful card, and I really like this card because it's just so darn pretty, and I wish that I had it in a, more better condition, but this is the one I have, and I love it. I'm very happy with it. So there you go, and that's card number Boy, I can't remember the number of these cards. I just can't do it. It's like 10 or 11, somewhere in there. I'll tell you when we're at 25. This is the 1957 Topps card of Henry Aaron. Henry, Mickey, Willie, uh, Frank Robinson. Um, these were guys that were, in what I call the Big Five, and the other one I think you could pick your own. Ernie Banks comes to mind. Um, you know, and others. This is the reverse negative card. Hank was not Henry was not a left-handed batter. So the next card I have to show you is from the 1968 KDKA radio station, card of Roberto Clemente, and this is in an authentic from the Roberto Clemente collection. And this sheet of paper is the certificate of provenance from the personal collection of Roberto Clemente. Love that card too. Next is a card from the 1970s. I went to college in West Virginia in 1970, and the next year, 1971, the Pirates were in and won the World Series. And I watched it and I rooted for the Pirates because my team wasn't in the World Series in 1971, the Yankees. So I adopted Pittsburgh as my team to root for and have rooted for them ever since. They kind of have a way of sticking with you once you get involved with them. And this guy, I just loved Richie Hebner. Whenever he came up to bat, I just knew he was going to get a hit. Now, a little more than 7 times out of 10, he did not get a hit, but he got some hits pretty often, especially that year. So Richie Hebner, he's just one of my favorite players, always will be. Next is another one of my favorite players, and I already told you about this card, 1952 Topps Willie Stargell. My wife gave this card to me so long ago I don't remember when it was, but I think it was before we were married. It might have been in 1972 because we started going out with each other in 1970. And, she hasn't been able to get shed of me since then. Willie Stargell. Now we're getting into a couple cards that I purchased when I got back into baseball card collecting, and this was one of them. The 1953 Bowman of Gil Hodges. Gil Hodges, I knew him as the Mets manager because although I did see the Mets play in 1962, I believe it was 62. Mookie, you can correct me if I'm wrong about that. Gil Hodges actually was on the Mets during part of that season. I don't think I saw him. He didn't play in very many games. But his running mate, Duke Snider, was also on the Mets, and I saw him play. So that was kind of cool. But I learned about Gil Hodges more as the manager of the Mets later on, especially the 1969 Miracle Mets that won the World Series in 5 games against the heavily favored Baltimore Orioles. So that's Gil Hodges. I bought that card and this card at a card shop actually, this isn't the exact card that I bought, but the Hodges card is the exact card. card that I bought along with it, this Mickey Mantle 54 Bowman, I is in my set, my complete set, so it's in binder over that way somewhere. And so I was still a huge Mantle fan, even in 1986 or whatever it was. I think that's when I bought these. Bought them at the same time from the same card shop. A little bit later on, I went to, or a little bit earlier, I had gone to a card show in Parkersburg at the Holiday Inn, and I purchased this card, not in a slab, because I don't even think they had slabs back then. But whether they did or not, mine was, as you see it without the slab and not signed. And I kept it that way for a long time because I didn't really know too much about autograph collecting. But a little bit later on, not too much later on, I was going to a card show where Mickey Mantle was going to be a signing, uh, a signer at the card show, autograph signer. And I took this card with me because I thought maybe I'll just get this card signed. And I talked to some other people at the show, and some of them discouraged me from doing it. Others encouraged me to do it and said, "You ever going to sell this card? No. You ever going to give it away? No. I'm going to keep it as long as I live, I guarantee you." And he said, "Well, then go ahead and get it signed if you want to. I mean, it might lower the value for a little bit, but you'll probably catch back up if that happens, and probably won't even know about it." So that's what I did. Then I went to the National in Atlantic City in 2022, and I got this card graded, authenticated, and the signature authenticated, and got it slabbed. And by that time, the sort of rough handling that it got while in my care had reduced the card perhaps, although it was not really in any better condition, I don't think, when I bought it. But the autograph was in better condition. And you can see it's faded a little bit down here. So the autograph is a 7, but the card itself only graded 2. So, I paid a lot more for the grading than I did for the card and the autograph put together. So, but I'll never get rid of that card. It's probably, if I had to rate these cards from 1 to 25, I think that's number 1. Here's a card that I like because I just think it's a cool card. And it is, as you can see, a 1954 Stallmeyer Franks. Now, it's not Mickey Mantle and it's not Willie Mays, either one of which I would dearly love to own. But it also didn't cost, 6 or 7 or 10 or 12 or whatever $1,000. This card I got at an REA auction, and I was able to get it for about $250. You can see I don't know whether that's paper loss because I bought it graded or paper gain, but either way, there's a little something going on there. The back looks pretty nice. Of course, it's stained with hot dog juice, as nearly all of these cards are. In fact, all of them, if they've ever been inside a hot dog wrapper. There are some that haven't been in a wrapper. Next card I want to show you is from my 1952 top set. I went kind of in order from 1 to 310. Not exactly, because I had about 30 or 40 cards. Just guys that I had an opportunity to get. And So I bought this one fairly recently, and I bought it slabbed in a PSA 2. Uh, just a beautiful card. Bob Feller. My Uncle Bill really liked Bob Feller a lot. He also liked Robin Roberts a lot. This is a card I'm showing you as one of my favorite cards because it's just such a beautiful card. And Stan Musial, of course, is a great player, and I never saw him play because I was watching baseball in those days, but I never had a chance to see him play. He was out of baseball at the end of 1963, and this is from the Red Heart dog food set. This is the back of the card. Stan Musial from Donora, Pennsylvania. So he was born and grew up um, really not far from where I went to college. The next card that I want to show you is from the 1952 Bowman set. And again, I'm showing you this card because I think it's just so beautiful and such a great image for a catcher. It's very well known. I have also the 52 Burke Ross that shows the same image, and I have a photograph um, from some set. I think it's a Wheaties set uh, of a Wheaties Premium. Same image. It's a great image. Love that card. Here's a guy that I really liked and admired uh, when I first discovered Tommy Henrik. He's from just up the road a little bit. This is from the 1950 Drake set. Tommy Henrik was Mr. Clutch, old reliable. What a great player. I tell you what, without Tommy Henrik, the Yankees don't get in the 1949 World Series, let alone win it. DiMaggio was hurt more than half the season and wasn't able to play. He had a very painful uh, bone spur in his heel, and he just couldn't go. And then one day he woke up and the pain was gone. I mean, it's just like a minor miracle. But in the meantime, Tommy Henrik hit something like 19 home runs to keep the Yankees in games late or win games late. Here's another. So that's a player that I like. Here's another card that is a Venezuelan card, and this is from the 1967 Venezuelan Retirado retired player collection. And this is Lloyd Wainer, uh, formerly of the Pittsburgh Pirates. 1967, he was retired. And this card I have to show you because I just think that that's so cool that you could get cards from Venezuela, and this is what the back looks like if you've never seen one. Fabulous card. This next card is a card that I got at the 2020 I don't know what year, frankly, I got this, but it was the last card that I purchased in order to get a complete set of 1949 Bowman cards, and this is the card that did it for me. This is a number 224 Satchel Paige, 3.5 SGC graded. I traded a Michael Jordan rookie card. Well, it's not really his rookie card, but it's called his rookie card. It's the 86 Fleer, and I had it graded at the National in Chicago, so it would have had to been 2023. And I graded it for the purpose of making this trade. And so it came back a 7, and the guy wouldn't do me even up, but I had to give him an extra $500 plus the Michael Jordan rookie card in a in a PSA 7. So this is my okay, and that is my second number 2 card. So that's 24 cards, and here's the last one. It is the 1940 Play Ball Joe DiMaggio, which I am just in absolutely thrilled about. So there it is in all its glory. And I haven't completed that set yet, but I'm getting close, and I'm going to cut it off here. You have seen the elephant. That's all there is to show you. And so in order not to make this video any longer, I'm going to cut it off and say to you all that I appreciate your watching, subscribing, and liking this video, if you will. And in the meantime, I hope that all your collecting dreams come true. And I mean that sincerely.